So the relationship between Proctor Major and myself started when I was a salary earner and I came to Brett because I was referred to Proctor Major because they'd done some work with management equity plans under private equity ownership, which is generally a very complex instrument. So I was looking for someone who had experience with that type of instrument, and it happened that Brett had experience with that. So that started the relationship. And other than that single private equity instrument that was part of my remuneration as a salary earner, my affairs were really simple. And it's only after they became a little bit more complex, I started a couple of different businesses, and I was seeking Brett's advice on those that I think he started to call in for the help of Partners Wealth Group. Is that how it happened, Brett?
Yeah, well, obviously when you change from being an employee to setting up your own business, and your business wasn't your standard business, it was unique how you would build a product and then sell a product, and it was in the software space, and so it created new entities every time, very lumpy income. So when yourself and Paul were talking about wanting to get some finance, to do some personal investment, property investment, and also homes for yourselves, it was all, how do we get finance? The standard banks wouldn't talk to us. So at that point, I reached out to the team at Partners Lending, Julie and Tom, to say, very complex case, great clients, business is highly profitable, but unique flow of income, what can we do? And it's where they really said, well, we love the tough cases, and started an introduction with Macquarie. And I think, Tom, it was really personalising that relationship with Macquarie that helped them understand the business, and Julie and yourself at the time, reading the contracts about your work, understanding what you did. And that was the going the extra mile, I think, that helped get it up and going with Macquarie.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of Julie, I'm sure you can both attest, one of Julie's greatest skills is the ability to understand a business and get in there and understand every single portion of how it does operate. It's so important to have that skill set when taking a business to different lenders, and she was really able to understand the best way to position this facility across to Macquarie to start that relationship, and then also introduce you so you could create that relationship with the bankers as well. And it's just extremely important for the relationship between not only ourselves but also with the accountant, because when these timelines do arrive, we do have the ability to adjust and work within the time frames.
I think we had 45 days post year end to get the financing in this building over the line.
Absolutely. Yeah, you were telling me it was 20 entities in which you needed to get ready and prepared in only a couple of days. And it was amazing the way in which we can just adjust and pivot towards the best way forward. It's great in this current structure.
Ben, you can probably answer this, but during a lot of these processes of, initially with Macquarie, and then we determined for this commercial deal it was more suitable to utilise ANZ, that in the background we were getting a lot of the stuff done. So the impost on your time when you're trying to run and grow a successful business that's growing overnight, we really tried to minimise that. Did you find that was a benefit for you?
Yeah. There was low distraction for me. It was interesting for me because I knew that we had a short time frame, and I knew there was a lot of entities, and that you would otherwise have done that work for the end of financial year work for those 20 plus entities, and I knew it had to be done quickly. I saw that there was a WhatsApp group in the background, so I could see that things were happening, but I wasn't really involved much at all, but I could definitely see there was a very heavy workload, which I was glad that you were able to pick up on. And it was also nice to see that happening, but not have to be involved. So there was communication between what the bank needed, which Julie was able to get those requirements, and then she was able to interface with you, and I was just almost like informed, but not having to do anything on the way through.
Yeah, I suppose for you it was comfort that the deal was going to get done. You made a commitment, you signed a contract. At the end of the day, you had to settle on that contract, and it was us trying to make sure we fast-tracked what we could, keep you informed so you felt comfortable that, hey, we're actually going to get there.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that concept of making sure that you've got, in my situation, a team around you, the right team with aligned incentives. And in this instance, it happened that on the real estate side, we had a good agent that wanted to make sure the deal got done. We got you making sure that we've got everything that was needed to get the deal done, and Julie and the bank incentivized. So it's pretty unique where you have all parties incentivized to achieve the same outcome. And that was really reassuring for me.
And from that, we obviously then had a chat about big debt, big exposure, exciting times, but we want to protect you and your family. And so we talked about getting some key man insurance in for you and your business partner, Paul, and just doing things to make sure that that comfort piece stayed there the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, because that's uncharted territory for myself and my business partner, Paul. So for us, it was important to then, once we had this facility in place, to think about, well, like, how do we service that if things don't go so well? I didn't even have that conversation with you. It's something that you mentioned to me and said, here's the next thing that you need to think about. And, you know, there's wealth management conversations and sort of one thing leads to another. So, you know, you've seen that pattern a dozen times before, but for the client, myself, it's new territory. So it was good to have your experience for that.
Yeah, and the ease internally is that all the information that the lending team have collected internally at partners, they pass along to the wealth team. They've got all that data and information, again, to do the insurance. So it's around trying to make sure that your involvement is minimal, but the outcomes are outstanding and the comfort level stays there for you the whole way through.
Yeah, so from a form filling perspective and data and everything else, like Tom and your team, you've been very helpful with that. And there was a very light load on me because otherwise, you know, there's a lot of documentation that's needed for the insurance and the estate planning and also for the loans in particular. Like, that's a ludicrous amount of paperwork that's otherwise taken off my plate.
Yeah, and that estate planning was the last piece. Obviously, you've got a lovely wife and young family. So it was making sure that if something tragic happened, that they would always be okay. That network with partners, legal team, being able to provide all the information, the lending team sat down, talked to them a lot about the stuff that they need to know. So that's what we find for clients. It makes it easy for them.
Absolutely. Just the collaboration between the different entities and the different groups always makes it just such a smoother process throughout the entire experience.
Yeah, so in this instance, you can see that with Ben, like, due to the relationship with the accountant, we've got estate planning. There's not much wealth management in this instance, but so the estate...
Well, the wealth was around the insurance piece.
Estate planning, insurance, and lending. And, like, that's just the start of things.